All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. We're taking a look at what's going on with the stormy situation that we have right now. And the winds, they peaked as expected around midnight. And we're tracking the winds right now. We're using the National Weather Service. They have a site here that allows us to look at the current conditions. And this gives us a good idea. Look at these wind gusts that we have right now. These are some very strong wind gusts. You can see the winds that I've been picking up with gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour. So these are wind gusts that are very similar to what we saw last weekend. Big difference with the winds this weekend is they're coming from the south. Last weekend we had the winds coming from the north. What I'm going to do now is I just want to see you have out here at the Sacramento International Airport wind gusts 60 miles per hour. We've had a maximum wind gust up to 63 miles per hour. I know that out at the Executive Airport last week we had wind gusts up to 65 miles per hour. And right now we've had a max gust of up to 63 at the Executive Airport. So some very strong winds around the Sacramento area. We're noticing that, and it seems like the airports are giving us a good idea of what the winds are because they're usually open spaces. You don't usually, have all the trees and buildings. You have the runways that are fairly large, and so you have a nice straight path for the wind to blow, and we've had wind gusts of 54 so far at McClellan. Let's go over to Mather, and we've had wind gusts up to 56 miles per hour, so some very strong wind gusts. Folsom area reporting wind gusts up to 54 miles per hour. Let's go into the hills where we've had some pretty strong winds. I know that Placerville's had some pretty strong winds, and so far winds 45 currently, and that's about the maximum that they've had there. 50 mile an hour wind gusts here at Ben Bolt. We're looking at pretty strong winds around the area, so that's into the foothills, and then of course along the coast. Seeing some strong winds offshore. It looks like you got some buoys out here with wind gusts of 54 miles per hour. So really the strongest winds, in fact, let's go look a little farther south, because these winds were pretty strong. Out at the Stockton Airport we've had a maximum wind gust of 45 miles per hour, and Modesto at the airport we've had a maximum wind gust of up to 41 miles per hour. So yeah, it's the valley that seems to be getting some of the stronger winds, but look at this even in the hills. Oh, here we go. Now some of these are going to be on some higher elevations. I know that there's a few points that we have some pretty strong winds, and you can look at the elevations when you click on this. That's not too high. It's what, 3,871 feet wind gusts maximum at 54 miles per hour. So what's going on? Well, for that, let's go ahead and let's go back over to here and show you this storm that's coming through. Not only are we dealing with the strong gusty winds, we've had some rain, and we've got lots of lightning strikes. Look at all these thunderstorms that have been pushing across the area. And what's been interesting is, yeah, we've had some rain, but the rain has not been the headline with this weather system. So far the winds have been the strongest, and the lightning strikes, we're seeing that now picking up. But here is, where's my radar? There it is. This is what I want to look at. So you can see numerous lightning strikes, and we were expecting that this was going to kind of taper off as it makes its way over land. But you can see just lots of lightning strikes stretching from Napa County through Lake County into Colusa County, Yolo County, getting some of these lightning strikes. And now we just have that rain that's starting to pick up, it looks like, just to the west and to the north of Sacramento towards Yuba City and Marysville. And that rain is really coming down here to the north, north of Glenn County and through Tehama County near the Red Bluff area is where we've been seeing already. Over the past couple of hours we've had some pretty good rainfall in that area, and it looks like it's picking up right now. So we do have some rain, but now the biggest concern is the winds. So let's take a look at what's going on with the forecast with the winds. So we have the stronger winds right now, and you can see anywhere from sustained winds of like 25 to over 30. Woodland 32 is what the forecast is. But when you look at a map like this, you can look at the specific locations and look at the winds, but generally what we have is the wind speeds. We could see wind speeds between 30 to 35 miles per hour here, it looks like, stretching from Woodland to Marysville. 30-mile-an-hour winds near Sacramento. So we're in the peak of the winds right now. And the wind speeds as we move forward here past 2 o'clock, past 3 o'clock, while we'll still have some strong winds, the overall general trend is going to be those winds are tapering off. So it looks like over the next 2 hours, there will be definitely a noticeable drop in wind speeds, but the winds are not going to go away. We're still looking at winds going from the 25 to 35 mile an hour range, dropping off to the 20 to 25 mile an hour range as we get past 5 o'clock in the morning, and we continue to see those winds tapering off through Sunday morning, and expect to have that continue to drop off there. Another thing I wanted to look at was, I want to look at the power outages. Let's go. SMUD outage map. If it's up. Let's go here. That should, if we get it going here, it's coming up, it's coming up. This should show us what's going on, because I know I've been driving out. I actually drove home and then came back, and there are lots of areas affected by power outages right now. So this is loading, and so let's look at the customers. Oh my gosh, we're over what we saw last weekend. We're at over 342,000 customers affected by SMUD right now. That's fine. We don't have the actual, oh, there they are, they're coming up. All of these little bubbles, they show kind of the clusters of where the power outages are. And it looks like the greatest number right there in Sacramento is where we have the greatest number. But stretching north to south, there's just a lot. And if you do not go out, if you have plans of going out tonight, don't. I know it's kind of late. A lot of people are just going to be staying home, and that's the best thing to do right now. Do not go out. The roads are a mess. There's trees down everywhere. Lots of branches. I saw a few large trees, but really most of it was just branches, and some of them were fairly large branches. But just avoid the dangers out there and stay home and ride this out. But yeah, customers, we're up over almost 350,000 customers right now that are affected by power outages because of the winds and the trees going down, I'm sure, knocking down lines, causing problems. And so that's what we're seeing here, is quite a bit of power outages associated with this storm as it rolls on through. So joining me now is Brittany Hope. And we're I've got this map up showing the power outages of the area. And last week we had over, was it 200,000?
So last week was 200,000, and we thought that was bad, and that was bad at this point. But this is kind of unprecedented. What we're seeing across the region, and I've been sitting at the assignment desk just listening to scanners. 911 at this point, they said they're not able to take calls because the lines are so backed up, and we've heard that repeated multiple times on the scanners. Fallen trees, power lines, generators blowing up, transformers blowing up. It sounds like there's a few fires, including one possibly at an apartment complex. And at one other apartment complex, 3 large trees have fallen onto that. This spans from Sacramento all the way to Granite Bay. 47th Avenue and 47th Street in South Sacramento is being shut down. G Street at 14th in Midtown Sacramento is being shut down. It's really interesting, Dirk, listening to the scanners, because you're hearing different jurisdictions who are asking for help from each other, and there's just simply not enough to go around with something like this.
Yeah, the winds are strong. I mean, you can see from north to south here, Lincoln, you've got gusts that are up to 60 miles an hour. So generally we're looking at wind speeds that are ranging between 50 to 60 miles per hour as gusts, and then sustained winds that are more in the 30 to 40 mile an hour range. Wow. So those are some very strong winds. The thing that I noticed as I was walking or driving around this evening was that there's so many trees down and hazards out there that there's no way that the police or anybody can keep up with all that's going on.
Well, and you wonder, I mean, a lot of what we're hearing on the scanners is we can't get there. There's down power lines that are energized. So until SMUD or PG&E, if you're outside the SMUD region, can get there, these crews can't even do much either. I know there was, and I can't remember the intersection, but it was in South Sacramento that I just heard before I walked over. There are power lines, 3 of them, that are just swaying right now, and they're just waiting for those to go down. So they're about to shut down the street. This is one of those cases, though, where I know we say it all the time on air, but we really mean it when we say it. You want to stay home.
Stay home.
This is just one of those things you don't want to get out there. If emergency crews are struggling and can't even handle the amount of 911 calls, you have no business being out there. And the outages just keep on growing. I mean, we started really noticing these on air at around 11:15 was when they started picking up traction. I think it was at 11:20 when we were at 18,000. Now we're almost at 350,000 SMUD customers, and that's just SMUD. We need to look at the PG&E map as well. Something that we do want to kind of remind you, I know that SMUD put out a tweet saying, you know, just call this generic hotline. If you can't get through to 911, it's one of those cases where, yeah, call SMUD if that's your provider, call PG&E. In fact, we're going to have Dirk pull up the PG&E outage map right now. I know a lot of folks, Dirk, I shared this on the KCRA page and some of our other reporting from the website, and people were saying, like, you guys aren't on air, you guys aren't on air. That's exactly why we're live on Facebook, because we can't even get on air right now. That's how widespread this is, but wow.
So you can see, again, the orange squares are up to almost 5,000 customers that are without power, and then you get these triangles, and you can see it's more towards the Bay Area, it looks like, where you have over 5,000 customers. But you can really see where you have, again, here you have Sacramento County, of course, and that's under SMUD, but outside of that, this is where the bullseye is. I mean, look at all the power outages. You get less to the south, less to the north. It's just all right here in this area is where we have all these power outages, especially, it looks like, from Galt south. So Lodi, Stockton, those are all areas that are going to be affected. Manteca, Murata, lots of power outages as you zoom in to those areas. So that means lots of trees down. That means lots of hazards. There's lots of dangers out there. So again, yeah, I know it's late, not a lot of people are out, but there are people out. So if you do have to go out, don't go out. If you have like an overnight shift that you need to get to or something like that, I would not recommend getting out on the roads. It's just not safe.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible. I know even just outside, I went to go check out some of our cars, and we have some trees that have been falling here too as well. But looking at these outages, at even 11:30, the PG&E map was pretty clear. So in the past, hour and 18 minutes from the last time we were on air, it's a totally different story. Yeah, let's go ahead and refresh the SMUD page. So a tick up of about 3,000 more customers. So at this point, 345,000 customers are without power. You know, earlier tonight we were able to say it's North Sacramento or it's the Wilton area. Now there's just not a region that isn't impacted by this at this point. And I know that our phones have been ringing off the hook here with folks calling us saying, like, I can't get through to anyone. And it's one of those things where we don't really have an answer for you if emergency responders are also saying they're having the same issues.
Well, you got to think about it too. With that many customers out, if your power is out, you might as well just kind of assume it's going to be a long haul before it comes back on again, because there's no way that they're going to be able to get to over almost 350,000 customers in a rapid manner. So just be prepared to be without power for a while.
And with all of those customers, 374 active outages. That's a lot of repairs to do at once, and it's kind of that rebound effect where we already had what we thought was unprecedented last weekend when it was 200,000 customers from that windstorm, I guess you could call it, right before our 10 o'clock newscast. But between the rain that is here and the rain that's coming this week, we can't really get a grip. I know there were some folks who've just been out of power for days. Even where I live, after last weekend, we didn't have hot water for 3 days. Oh, no. So the impacts, you know, it's just been a tough start to the new year. Wow, and there's kind of that, I mean, just looking at radar, it tells the story. But those lightning strikes, in fact, when I went outside to check on the cars, I saw a pretty good little lightning kind of dancing through the skies, pretty close to the station.
Yeah, I noticed lots of like cloud-to-cloud lightning, so the cloud was just kind of glowing. It would like flash, and you'd see it. It's almost like a night light that would pop on and then pop off.
Right.
But you're seeing that the lightning strikes kind of winding down. They kind of lose their energy, but still some heavy rain that's making its way through Tehama County right now, and that's the kind of rain that's going to make for some flooding. Luckily, we haven't had that as a hazard tonight. It's been mainly just debris that's flying around that's been the big hazard, and knocking down power lines and causing some problems there. But yeah, this is the storm that's doing it. This is what's causing the winds. Now, the winds, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be tapering off. I'd say within the next hour to an hour and a half, it should be noticeably less, but they're not going to go away. We're still looking at winds that are going to be between 20 to 25 to even 30 miles per hour. But these strong gusts over 60 miles per hour should be gone by that time.
You know, Dirk, something we can ask folks too. I'm looking on my cell at folks who are tuning in. If you can message in the comments or give the station a call if things are getting hairy near you, if you're seeing a fire, if there are a bunch of downed power lines, we have crews here. We're trying to deploy folks where we see some of the biggest problems. Again, we know that's everywhere, and if your power's out, you feel like that is the biggest problem. But if there's something where your entire neighborhood is crossed off, you're seeing fire, things like that, we definitely want to know about that so we can get there and try to do so safely. So if that's someone calling the news station, if you can comment here on this stream, we're monitoring it all, and we have crews that we've called in overnight to keep going through this. So, our viewers across the region are really our best eyes. We're so limited, especially when it's 12:52 at night, and we're calling folks in who are trying to get here safely as well. I'm actually going to check the stream while we're at it and just see what folks are saying. But yeah, just a reminder, if you're just tuning in, I know a lot of people have been calling us saying, hey, we don't have you guys on air. What's going on? What's going on? Exactly what you're dealing with, we're dealing with too. So because we can't get on air to talk to you about this, we're using Facebook.
And so here, this is kind of a more broader perspective of what's going on with this weather system. The actual core, the center of it's still offshore, and we're just seeing this stream. It'd be a jet stream that's working its way across California right now, and it's just the stream of moisture. You got the stream of energy because you have the difference in pressure that's creating these winds, and these strong winds. I mean, to have it 2 weekends in a row, I've never experienced anything like this here in California, and I've lived here for a good chunk of my life.
It's interesting. I'm just looking at the comments here. I mean, I don't think there's one region in our viewing area that isn't impacted. Seeing folks from Pollock Pines to Sacramento to Yolo County to Yuba City. Someone just commented from Woodland. I mean that this is kind of one of those things where we're all feeling it. Someone just said a tree fell on the power lines near their home. Greenhaven lost power. Rio Linda, the winds are just howling. Someone in Antelope is saying that they're having issues. Someone in the Pocket, North Stack. I mean, it's really every single region. So if it's a lot for us to cover, you can just imagine what it is for emergency crews. And that's exactly what we're hearing over the scanners, where it's just, Roseville Fire needs help getting more engines to this. Folks in Granite Bay need help. But as Dirk was mentioning earlier, and if you're just tuning in, because of those down power lines and trees, SMUD has to get there to de-energize them. It just takes a long time. If you can't get somewhere, the chances are emergency crews can't get there either. So it's just another reminder you want to stay home. And I know we say that so often, Dirk, but we really mean it, and we don't take that lightly when we tell you to stay home.
No, it's treacherous out there right now. So yeah, stay home. And here we were talking about the North Highlands area. We were talking about Natomas. You can see that McClellan's kind of a good indicator of what you're experiencing in that area. And what you're looking at here is this is called a wind barb, and these looks like a little feather on it. So that's kind of like an arrow. Think of it like an arrow, and it's showing you the direction that the wind is flowing. It's flowing from the southwest or southeast, actually, off to the northwest. And that red number here, that's what the wind gusts are. And so that's 55 mile an hour wind gusts. If we move over towards Citrus Heights, you have a station out here that's reporting wind gusts up to 61 miles per hour, and that's very believable. Here in the Folsom area, you have wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. So we have some pretty strong gusts, but the most reliable ones that you're going to see here are at the airports. So here at Mayfair Airport, we've got wind gusts up to 56 miles per hour with those winds coming from the southeast. The Executive Airport, wind gusts up to 41. And so that's zooming in, but I'm just go ahead and zoom out, and you can see all this wind is basically all coming from the southeast, moving off to the northwest, and it's still very strong outside. I've been through a hurricane before, and there's similar. You get that similar feel, but right now it's without the rain, but it's warm. You know, temperatures. You can see the temperatures here. We're in the mid 50s, and it's windy.
Yeah, I think that's what's kind of bizarre about this is you expect to step outside and be really cold, and you walk outside, you don't even need a jacket, which is just one little tool to maybe help emergency crews out there. I'm just looking through comments. I just saw that someone said they had a boom that just really shook their house. Something else we can ask too is, again, we are limited just because of the road closures and everything, but if there's something that you're able to safely take a photo of or take a video of, again, without you driving and getting in too hairy of a situation, if you could tweet that at us or post it in a Facebook comment here on our stream or tag one of us in this. Again, so many of you are our best eyes, and the reason we're going live on Facebook is because we just have so much more eyes on social, because we know hundreds of thousands of our viewers are without power right now. So this is one of those things where working together really helps, and so many of you throughout so many of these situations help us paint a better photo. So any sort of images or videos that you could send in to us, we appreciate. Looks like we have another tick up.
Yeah, another tick up here. Another 1,000 people.
Another 1,000 without power.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though. I've seen a few comments of folks saying Arden Arcade, a lot of folks have power there. That's something that I've seen, at least in certain neighborhoods. But just tracking all of this it's just overwhelming, and it just keeps going up. You know, can we pull up the PG&E power map again? I'm just curious to see if anything's changes or if we have any red triangles in our
Not in our
viewing
area,
Not
looks
yet.
like, no. But yeah, a lot of power outages, and you can see it's just kind of centered right here around Sacramento. Of course, SMUD is the blank spot in the middle, but then all around, that's PG&E, and just look at all the power outages, lots of outages. From West Sacramento on towards Davis, it looks like, where we going in here? Yeah, that's the Davis area. You can see the areas that are covered by that. Lots of rural, but also even in town. You can see that we have that. West Sacramento, you can see the areas showing up there, lots of outages. And then zooming down towards Galt and Lodi, Stockton. Here we are in Stockton. You can see all the areas. So it seems to really be, I mean, it seems like the Sacramento area is getting the bulk of it, of outages here. You know, you do have a lot in Stockton, but look at all these neighborhoods where it's okay.
Wow. Oh, it looks like kind of the country club area, North Stockton, especially when you head to the east.
So you've got all that.
Along Highway 26 looks pretty good.
And then we go here and you've got
It's just a different story.
346,000
Wow.
customers out.
Can we refresh that? I'm just curious for perspective if in the last 2 minutes something happened.
Well, it's refreshing right now. It's trying to update. It's got the busy circle going
You know,
on.
I will say something that is a little bit nice. I know last week when we were going through this, the SMUD outage map, because so many people were visiting it, it was freezing up for us. So we weren't really able to get those updates. It looks like tonight, I mean, we haven't had any issues here at the station getting onto it. So it's running better than last week, which is helpful for us just so we can see what's going on and we're able to give you a better update. But I mean, every time we've refreshed this so far since 11:15 tonight, it's just kept going up.
All right, well, let's go back. I want to go back again just to the wind speeds. And we can see the difference that we have as we go farther south. Because this gets all of California. You can see there's still some pretty strong winds. Look at that Madera, 45-mile-an-hour gusts. But it just seems like generally it tapers a bit as we go farther south. And then as we go farther north, we see the increase from Modesto to Stockton, going from 33 to 45-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And then to the Sacramento area where we seem to be getting hammered, 56, 55. We've had 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We have one out in Lincoln right now, Beale Air Force Base 46, 58-mile-an-hour wind gusts there in Marysville at the airport. And then as we go farther north, it tapers off. We get into the 20s. And
What,
so we're
what is
kind
the
of,
strongest you've seen so far tonight?
oh, was it like a 60, I think I saw 63, 64, I think
Wow.
we got. Let's go. I think we have here 63 at the Sacramento International Airport. Wow. So this is comparable to last weekend because we had at the executive airport last weekend we had a 65-mile-an-hour wind gust. The difference is the direction. Last weekend it was a north wind, and then this weekend it's the south wind.
Well, good thing that flights aren't really going up and down, because I have a feeling if this was during the day, we wouldn't be seeing any of that. Some of our team just actually sent us a link, Dirk, and I don't know if you're able to pull it up for us. It's the statewide outage, so we could just give some more perspective on there too. I think it's in your email, but I'm not sure if we're able to pull that up.
What is it?
It's ArcGIS, ARCGIS.com.
Okay.
So this is just to kind of pull out even a little bit more, because we know we have folks from even outside the region in California tuning in with us just to look at outages outside of our region as well. So hoping we'll be able to pull it up.
Well, my guess is that it's not going to be as bad because we're getting it the worst here.
Right,
All
right.
right. So
It may be tough to pull up without
it
going
looks
on
like it's
your
something
email.
that you have to subscribe to.
So it's in our email, but I know it's tough when we're screen sharing to pull that up.
Yeah, I got
to
my
pull
email
up
on the other
email.
computer. I don't have the email
Oh,
over
okay.
here.
Well, we can
Um,
just tell you, I mean, it looks like definitely our region is getting the brunt of this, but there are outages across the state. NorCal is definitely, I mean, our region is unfortunately the star of the show, just looking statewide from this.
Yeah,
Anecdotally, but
Again, if we're looking at, and we can go here and it's just, you can see the difference in the winds. I mean, it's pretty obvious that to the south, there's nothing. I mean, there's no gusts at all. We do have a few gusts into the southern end of the Central Valley. We have a few gusts along the coast, but again, 20 to 30, not much. And then to the north, you can see the winds are not nearly as strong. So as far as power outages, this is the place. They're going to be looking at our power outages. We're not going to be looking at theirs.
right.
Because this is where we have the strongest winds right now.
Right. So I know that we have crews working to reach out to SMUD, but they did just tweet out 18 minutes ago essentially the same message that they tweeted out 42 minutes ago, which was, we're sorry, call us, check our outage map. So there really aren't any answers there, but what we can just tell you through listening into to the scanners from the desk is we're trying to kind of manage a few different things here. Again, right now emergency crews, they said their number one priority over the scanners, they said it is power lines. Power lines, power lines, power lines. That goes above down trees unless, of course, it fell on a home and there's human life at risk. But right now, their number one priority across jurisdiction, especially when they're sharing resources, is those power outages.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is those power lines, excuse me.
Yeah. So it's and there's so much. The volume is just incredible to see all the power outages. So we are getting rain now. Looks like it's starting to come down a little bit heavier. And that's something that we really have kind of missed so far is the rain. We haven't seen a whole lot of the rain with this weather system. But boy, we are getting the winds. And look at this. You've got a line of intense rain, which is also usually a good indicator that there's going to be some strong winds associated with that. And you can see that making its way now towards northern Sutter County and into Butte County, and sliding farther south.
So, Dirk, I know just throughout our newscast tonight, we were kind of talking about the different rounds of what weather we see. We have tonight, and then we have a new system tomorrow night. I mean, the challenges for this, combined with the weather that we're seeing, I feel like these outages, just simply because we have wet weather coming and we have more wind that's hanging around, could last longer than perhaps even last weekend. Because on Sunday we woke up and things were calmer. But this isn't really going to be a different story. Just with we kind of just it's round after round of wet weather.
We have,
this
yeah,
week.
and I'm hoping that because this wind we were expecting this to be a strong wind. Maybe not quite as strong as it's turning out to be, but yes, this was going to be a strong wind. The next round, as it comes through Sunday night and into Monday, is expected to bring another strong southerly wind. It was not supposed to be as strong as this wind that we're getting tonight. And so I'm hoping that, yes, it will be a wind event, but it won't be as intense as what we're experiencing tonight. But it's going to be windy again as we go into especially early Monday morning is what we're looking at here. If I bring up, I think I saw it here, wind map. These are wind gusts that are forecasted. So as we go through tonight, we see the winds die down as we get into Sunday, and then they pick up again Sunday night. And so again, according to the forecast, wind gusts, which is what we've been watching as we get into Monday morning, they do get up in the 40 to 45, so I'd say 40 to 50 mile an hour range, and here it gets up a little bit more, up over 50 miles per hour. So it's still going to be pretty strong, and it's going to be at its maximum, it looks like, by between 3 and 4 o'clock on Monday morning. But hopefully it won't be as strong as what we're experiencing tonight.
Well, I mean, it seems like these things tend to hit, luckily, when people are home. 4 a.m. Monday, hopefully most folks are home / just waking up for the day. But just one of those reminders. I mean, we can't say it enough, especially as people are coming in and out on Facebook. You want to stay home. It doesn't matter where you are, if you're in Yolo County, if you're headed toward Tahoe. I know on I-80 chain controls are still up on top of all of this, so it's just not safe to drive there anyways right now, regardless of the wind.
No.
Yeah, our phones are going off the hook. I'm not sure if people can hear that in the stream here, but that's kind of what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably some folks that haven't even cleaned up from the last storm that came through, last weekend. But still very strong winds are out there, and I'm going to go and bring us back.
I was going to say, I can type in this link too for those statewide outages. It's a little bit wordy, but we can pull out the keyboard and try to make this happen. Let's see. Oh, where did it just go? There we go. Technology. All right, so what we're going to work on pulling up here is essentially a statewide perspective. Let's see, ARC, GIS. This is going to take a minute, folks, so just stick with us here. APPS/dashboards/7EDEFC1970. So essentially what we're working to pull up here is statewide outages. That way it can show SMUD, PG&E, all of that at the same time. Just trying to get all of these characters correct so that we can give you that full picture. E51, E2D. All right, let's hope we did it. Wow.
Did you do it?
First try with all of those characters. I think that was more than 50, but we made it. Okay, well, this is awesome. Oh, thank you for the chair. I think we'll be here a while. So essentially what this tool is it helps us look at everything statewide. So it lays out SMUD with PG&E and all of the utilities in our area. Looking across the state, though, I mean, our region is, we're the star of the show. A little bit up the North Coast, Eureka, Rio Dell, but not too much.
By comparison, there's
North Bay. Yeah, wow, look at that, even in San Francisco and the South Bay. I mean, 18,000. You're seeing some pretty heavy outages there as well in the East Bay. Concord, Walnut Creek, upwards of 10,000 customers out of power. Wow, in Stockton right now it says 33,000 total.
So you've got San Joaquin County, Yolo County, 22,000. 18 in San Mateo, Sonoma, and then it just goes down. So it looks like it's ranked according to who has the most, and Sacramento County has the most.
Wow.
And
well, Yuba County looks like it's faring better than I had thought, which is definitely good news, but it kind of goes along with, like you were saying, as you go more north, the winds just calm down a little bit. We're really in the hot spot here in the valley where everything's that perfect storm of, we're going to have exceedingly high wind gusts and they're going to stay here, and we have lots of infrastructure and things here, so a lot of things that can get damaged and people who can be at risk, unfortunately.
And we're the city of trees here in Sacramento, and we've got lots of trees, and so there's lots of branches.
Which is good most of the time, except for things like now.
And so I was hoping that because we had so many trees that went down last weekend that we wouldn't have as much of an issue this weekend. But boy, it's
Right.
really affecting our
Well,
area.
tonight we were speaking with SAC fire crews, and there was a woman who was homeless who was inside her tent on a levee up near Discovery Park, and a tree had fallen on her tent when she was inside it, and it eventually killed her. And just talking with SAC Fire on the phone about all those details, what they were really saying is that the trees are going to keep falling, and that's because we've had this drought for so long. A lot of these root systems are just inching toward the surface, just essentially looking for any water they can get near the surface. So a lot of them, I mean, you get a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust, and you have a tree that's kind of top-heavy with roots that aren't solid. They're expecting them to fall. So that was kind of the reasoning they had for not just that unfortunately fatal situation, but for a lot of the trees that they're trying to pick up. They said, as soon as it falls over you, you see the roots that are almost just like reaching toward the sky. And you mix that with the wind, and it's just a tough situation. So I don't see this ending tonight. As these continue, especially into Monday, that overnight around 4 a.m. when you see these peak again. I think tomorrow when things are calm, if you have a tree near the house or branches that are over the house, if you can do it safely to try to do some cleanup and maintenance. A lot of the times these things, though, you don't think about them until they're here. It's like cleaning out the rain gutters before the rain comes, and suddenly you're like, man, I should have done that before. You don't want it to get to the worst case scenario, and I know we really try our best to warn people to do stuff beforehand, but this is really one of those cases when things do calm down, to try to just do some of that maintenance, because we've already had so many reports of trees on top of homes. I've been here with you for about 15 minutes now, at least when I was up there at the desk listening. Luckily, it sounded like no one had been injured, and there had been no fatalities from the trees falling onto homes. That 100% could have changed since I stepped away. But at that point, that was a glimmer of good news, was yes, these homes are having this horrible damage, but humans are okay. And that just kind of goes to show, I think, if crews hear that, they're going to still want to go to those power lines that are active. And we've heard of some transformers that have been blowing up and creating some sparks and whatnot. So that's a really big priority.
Well, even the power lines that are down, so they don't want to restore power without knowing that the lines are intact.
Right.
And so you have to be aware of the condition that the lines are in before you start transmitting power back in through the lines. And so that's something that they have to do. So you have to check all the lines. So it's a process, and that's why it's going to take so long, is they have to make sure that it's safe to be turning areas back on with the power.
Something else we were talking about up at the desk that I wanted to kind of pick your brain about as well is when we're hearing of these fires, and again, I'm not sure exactly where these are, as a lot of the scanners are having some connectivity issues as well over the air, just because there's so much demand. But if you have a structure that catches on fire or something like this, or even a power line, a tree into a power line, can you talk a little bit about the dangers when you're still dealing with these wind gusts? I mean, is there that fear that it could jump from structure to structure or from treetop to treetop? Or are things so saturated and wet right now that shouldn't be as much of a risk?
Well, I mean, always if there's structures that are right next to each other, that's something that it can move, between structures. This is just pure speculation.
Right.
I would imagine that with the winds blowing as fast as they are and the trees being as wet as they are, that probably wouldn't be as much of an issue.
We
And
hope
I noticed
so.
that a lot of the trees have already, because of the previous storms and because now we're into January, have lost a lot of their leaves. And so you're dealing with, and the leaf would be a much easier thing to start, a dry leaf rather than a branch
Right.
on fire, if you're going to be transferring from one tree to another, from things like that. But but still, the fire can still, if you have a hot fire that's burning, it can still be a problem. But I think the big problem here is just the problem with the power lines. And you get the winds blowing and you get the lines arcing and creating sparks, or you get transformers blowing. You can have houses, I think, would be probably the biggest danger, or structures catching on fire in a situation like this. And that could be a problem. But I don't know. So you've been hearing on the scanner that there's been some fires?
Yes.
Are there house fires or structure fires?
It sounded like a structure fire. There was 2 different ones that I heard that they had been sending engines to at that point. And I think one of them was in the Roseville area, because I know Roseville was calling in for more resources. They were pretty much backed up, but I don't think that's unique to Roseville. In fact, I know it's not unique to Roseville just from listening to the scanners. I mean, at this point, and this was about 30 minutes ago, we had heard some folks over the line saying, 911 is impacted. You're not going to get through there. I haven't heard an update on that since I've been here with you. But can we check the SMUD outage map again? It's been a few minutes, so I'm curious if we've seen another. Oh.
So we're going. Looks like we've gone down.
About 2,000. We'll take it. we'll take anything at this point. I think those 2,000 households are really happy for it.
It's a drop in the bucket, but still, yeah, those places that get the outages over with there and back up and running with the electricity, I'm sure are very happy.
Can we go down to the Wilton area or the southeast part of the county? I'm curious to see.
So Sheldon, there's Wilton.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a hot spot.
You got 17,000 out in that area.
And there's still standing water there too, so just another reason you don't want to go out into the roads. They're still recovering from our last bout.
But I know going south through South Sacramento, there's again lots of power outages. I mean, it just was dark, and it took me a second to realize, that's why it's so dark. There's no lights on anywhere, and there were also some intersections. The lights were out, and that's what's really dangerous, because if you have, come up on an intersection and somebody else is coming up on that same intersection at the same time, and you both don't have any lights, that can cause some problems.
That was what I experienced last weekend in the downtown Midtown area when I was trying to get to the highway to get home. Driving through, it was really scary driving, because you had down trees, you had down lines, everything was pitch black. You approach that intersection, you look both ways, wondering if someone's going to zoom by. But what was kind of spooky about all of it was you just saw a bunch of people with their phone flashlights on the sidewalks, trying to see, where am I going? And of course, it was New Year's weekend, so, and we did a story on that, I think yesterday, where everyone was out and about and all these restaurants and bars and whatnot had to cancel, but people trying to navigate their way home. It is a Saturday night. I'm sure downtown Midtown was hopping with people. You just hope that everyone got home safely. Wow, look at those wind gusts.
Yeah, so here I'm just kind of taking a tour, starting in through Tuolumne County, where you can see the wind gusts. I'm curious what the elevation, this is outside of, Mount Elizabeth, yeah. I'm familiar with that area, so that's almost 5,000 feet. So you're upper in elevation, but we've got wind gusts of 64 miles per hour there. Elsewhere, basically wind gusts in the 20 to 30 plus mile an hour range.
Wow.
And the scary thing there too, it's just like the valley, but you have lots of trees as you work your way up through the hills and on into the Sierra, and you get these winds that are blowing pretty strong. And here you go near Calaveras, and this is what, kind of ironic here, you've got near Calaveras big trees, and you've got wind gusts of 67 miles per hour.
Wow.
You don't want those big trees coming down.
That's one of the bigger ones we heard. Dirk, can you zoom in? We have some folks who are asking for the wind speeds at Sac International Airport. It looks like a few folks in the comments are asking for that info.
We're here. So Sac International has currently wind gusts of 39 miles per hour, but earlier it had a 63 mile an hour wind gust. And we can go ahead and go into another thing here which shows you, you can look at the graph. It's kind of a little sloppy, but you can see here these kind of pinkish colored, that's the gusts. And so you have wind gusts. You can reach 63 miles per hour at 12:30. So 12:30 a.m. We had the peak wind gust of 63 miles per hour. We've had wind gusts of 60. And we got up over 60 miles per hour as early as 11:53 p.m. But you can see that those winds steadily increased, and now it looks like they're starting to taper off. So the last gust measured was 39, and that was at 105. And so we are starting to see a decrease in the wind gusts, it looks like, out at the airport, Sacramento International Airport. And we got some rain, shows the accumulation of rain, but those wind gusts.
We have another request from some folks in Carmichael.
Okay.
They're wondering if we could kind of zoom around the Carmichael area and talk about some wind gusts there.
Sure. Well, unfortunately, there's not a lot of observation sites in the Carmichael area. That would be nice to be able to have that, but you can see you've got McClellan, that's off to the north, and you get into the Orangeville area, and you have some here. But yeah, in the Carmichael area, unfortunately, there's nothing reporting in that area.
You know, Dirk, some people are asking, what is this tool? Can I find it myself? Yeah, this is totally a public website. Can you kind of break down the bare bones? I know on people's computer screen, I think the very top where it says the address bar is blocked off. But yes, this is free and public, something that anyone can access.
I can scoot it down a little bit and it'll come on. But yeah, this is just a site that you can get to. I get to it through the National Weather Service, but it's at their Sacramento site. And I think I don't know if I brought it down far enough. I'm trying to bring it down.
It looks like just about, if you could bring it maybe a little bit more down and to the right a bit.
And to the right.
But that way it'll give you the full map here. And what some folks are asking is, and it's a great question too, how is this measured? And when you say an observation site, when we see that we're not seeing much in Carmichael, how do we get each of those little kind of wing marks there to help us look at all this data?
Some of the best data we get is from the airports, and so that's from the National Weather Service. They have observation sites at all the major airports, and so here you have the old, Air Force bases that have now turned into public fields, and that's where we have these sites. But then there's these other sites, and you can see one here. This is looks like the River Forecast Center that has a site there. I'm assuming it just kind of looks like what that is. You have a site out here. This looks like it's more of it's just out in Rancho Cordova. It looks like it's a co-op site that you have. So you have individuals that can have, but also you have groups or organizations like PG&E. PG&E has a lot of sites that are up here in the hills, especially because their big concern is tracking the weather in the hills where it can be so dangerous as far as the starting of wildfires. And so there's just different organizations that are all tapped into this one map that is put out by the National Weather Service. So I don't know if that's showing up now. You can see it here.
Yep, we have it there.
So if you want to go there, and I'm just going to go ahead and go back and just show you, this is the website. So you go to weather.gov.sto/, and that gets you to the National Weather Service page here. This gives you, what watches, warnings, and advisories that are put out. And you scroll down to, or actually go to current conditions here, observations, and that takes you to this site here. And that gives you all the observations. And you can look at lots of different things. So I'm going to go here now, and I'm going to look at the maximum wind gusts. And we can see right here, it shows maximum wind gusts. And you can do it for a period of time. But this just gives us an idea of some of the max wind gusts that we've seen here recently.
We just got a shout out, some folks asking for some Tracy info. Can we check out the wind gusts in Tracy?
You bet. Now Tracy does have an airport, so there should be some wind gusts here. It's not showing. I mean, there we go. We got 32 mile an hour wind gusts around Tracy, 38, 43. But then you get up into the hills, you got a 63 mile an hour wind gust. So I know Tracy has an airport right there, and it's showing wind gusts of 29. If I zoom in here, it's currently got gusts up to 29. So you're seeing some of the strongest wind gusts right now. But in town, it looks like we have a site that's reporting 32 mile an hour wind gusts, and then 38 and 40 as you work your way more towards the east. So those are some of the wind gusts that are being reported, and as you can see, you have the cluster of sites that are reporting, and the gusts are pretty close together, anywhere from 30 to 40 miles per hour. So I'd say those are all pretty accurate as far as what they're saying. So Tracy, it doesn't look like it's getting as strong of winds as some of the other areas are, like Stockton out in at the airport there. You've got a 55 mile an hour wind gust.
Ooh, and while we're there too, we just got some folks asking for Manteca, so that's perfect. The cursor is right there.
Yep, up around 40 mile an hour wind gusts right now in the Manteca area. So you're seeing that, and then you get into Lathrop, and you got a little bit stronger gusts. And a lot of these gusts, it really depends on where the location of the anemometer is, or the whatever instrument they're using to measure the wind. Because again, out at an airport, what do you have? Open space.
Wow.
There's not a lot of trees, because you don't want, trees and planes don't mix, and so you have a lot of wide open space. And so you're going to get stronger winds because you don't have the trees and the buildings, the friction that's caused by those things to slow the wind down. So you're going to get the stronger wind speeds at airports. A lot of these are not at airports. A lot of these observation sites are in town. And when you get into town, you have buildings and trees and things that are going to slow the wind down. And so you're not really getting a true wind speed as far as what the winds are actually doing once you get away from the boundary layer, or that layer of the surface that slows the wind down. So airports are a better indicator of what the winds are. Or you can go to high places. And a good place that I like to go to, actually, it's up here, is Mount Diablo. Mount Diablo sits at close, almost 4,000 feet. It's 3,800 feet. And it's had wind gusts up to 69 miles per hour, so that's one of the stronger wind gusts. Another thing you can look at is up in the Sierra. You go to some of the ski resorts, and they have anemometers on top of their ski resorts because they need to keep track of the wind, because they'll shut down the lifts if the winds get too strong. And you can see there's a big difference. Winds up here, there's not a lot there, at least around Palisades. Homewood's got 28 mile an hour wind gusts, and then you get over here closer to Heavenly.
Oh, wow.
A little bit more.
54 gust.
It's got a 54 mile an hour wind gust, but that's at, it looks like, where is that? It's at Myers.
Myers.
So the Sierra, not as much, it looks like, as what we're seeing in the valley.
So we have some folks, and we're tuning on, so we are reading comments here in this live just to see, we're here, we're on to serve you guys, and we know on social media it's just easier when you don't have power. We still have cell service. A lot of folks are asking, how long is this lasting? I know it's been a few minutes now since we were able to bring up Futurecast, but the winds don't end today, and I think that's what a lot of folks are asking who are just tuning in.
Yeah, well, we're having, I think, and here, what I'm looking at here is you can see that this is a timeline of the wind gusts, and this is out at the Executive Airport. And we had a 63 mile an hour wind gust at 12:15 here, but you can see the winds kind of tapering off. And so we've had a 47 mile an hour wind gust since then, and now we're down to 33 and then 25. And so even though it's windy still outside, we're already starting to see those wind gusts start to taper off at this point. Now, if I look at Futurecast, again, these are looking at the gusts, and we're going from the present. Here we are, it's like 1:30. You can see the wind gusts between 30 to 50 miles per hour, but then you go to 2 o'clock, and they're a little bit less, and then you get to 3 o'clock, they're a little bit less, and so we've reached our peak in most areas. I can't say that for every area, but I know for Sacramento right now, it looks like we've had some of our strongest wind gusts, and that those wind gusts are going to be decreasing somewhat. The only thing that I can think of right now off the top of my head that could be a problem is if you have a thunderstorm in your area. If you get a thunderstorm that pops up in your area, the winds are usually associated with those thunderstorms, and you can have some pretty strong winds with those thunderstorms, and that's what we're seeing right now. This line of heavy rain is usually an indicator that you have some stronger winds, and those are moving in towards Yuba City. You can see that over northern Sutter County. So if we go from there back over to here, and I'm going to see what the winds are like right now up here. See if there's anything else. So we've got a 58 mile an hour wind gust currently out at the Marysville Airport. Where did that start? So 58. And that was 52, 58. That was at 12:53. So that was a little bit more recent.
Wow.
We had our 58 mile an hour wind gust there at 12:53 at the Marysville Airport. But even there, you can see now the wind gusts are starting to taper off. So we went to 45, went up to 48, then down to 43. So we're seeing, I think, a general decline in what's going on with the winds. But what about our power outage map? Let's see what we're doing there. I went from 344, we're still at 344. So that has not changed too much.
Yeah, it ticked up maybe by a few hundred. I think it was at 344.6 something the last time that we refreshed. Dirk, I'm going to be right back. I'm just going to go check in with our desk to see if there's anything big. I saw that our photographer went out the door a few minutes ago.
Okay.
So I'm just going to see if there's anything specific we had him going to.
Okay.
I'll be right back just to check what's going on.
All right, so that's what's going on with the winds right now. And we talked a little bit about the forecast, but the winds, we can revisit that. There we go. I like this map a little bit better. We're going to look in the future. So we have these winds currently that are going to decrease as we head into Sunday morning. And then as we go through Sunday, they'll continue to drop off, although there'll still be a little bit of a breeze until we're looking at about 4 o'clock, about between 3 and 4 o'clock. We have winds that are below 10 miles per hour, and then those winds will pick up again as we go through Monday. Look at that, Monday morning. So once we get this the same kind of time frame, here we are at 12 o'clock, those winds will be increasing, and then they peak here between 3 and 5 o'clock in the morning, and then they start to taper off. So again, more winds in the forecast as we have another atmospheric river moving in on Monday morning. This is going to bring not only the winds, but we expect to have some heavier rainfall with it. As we take a look at, where is it? There we go. But that's the wrong spot. Radar, I'm gonna have to change this. So, location is going to change. Alright, yeah, let's make it a little bit bigger, and that's how we're going to save it. Alright, let's get back here. So here we are, showers coming through, but again, rain, not really the story here. It's been the wind. Still have some showers in the forecast for Sunday morning, and then it clears up. And we're looking at much drier conditions through the rest of Sunday into the evening. And then we get close to 10 o'clock, 9, 10 o'clock. Here you go. Modesto, Stockton. Looks like your chances for rain will be a little bit sooner, but I think for the most part, once we get to 9 o'clock, that chance for rain is going to be here. And then it fills in, and we just get more of a steady rain. Where the other rain was more showery, this looks like it's going to be much more steady as we head into Monday morning. So again, we saw the winds, and this is when we were going to have some of the strongest winds, and this is when we're going to have some of the heaviest rainfall, it looks like, as we get into Monday morning. So this is early. This is well before sunrise. Sun's coming up around 7, between about 7:30ish, and by that time we're seeing the bulk of the rain moving out. Modesto looks like you're still in the stream there, but then we get past 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and by noontime, it looks like the rain kind of comes back. And it clears out. But look at all the snow in the Sierra. We are going to see quite a bit of snow, especially above 6,000 feet as we go through Monday, and then another weather system. So a little bit of a break Monday night, and then into Tuesday. Look at this. We have more rain come through. And this is going to be more showery, so not the steady rain, but boy, it's going to pump out a lot of snow. Look, especially Tuolumne County. You're going to get a lot of snow in the upper elevations there. And then scattered showers remain through Tuesday. And that's it. And then we go out just to right there, Tuesday afternoon. So that's what we have in store. That's what's coming our way. And so we have, again, the winds are kind of the headline here. But the rain will be picking up on Sunday night and into Monday.
Dirk, if you're able to pull up my Twitter, we just had someone tweet at me really incredible video from their neighborhood where you can see the palm tree is just let's see, I just retweeted this, so hopefully here you go. Oh, I messed up our little, I just did it full screen.
That's okay.
So I think our little preview might be
It's okay. Just go back to here.
errored. There you go.
And then I'm going to go ahead and just bring it back up again.
Okay.
And you can scroll that up.
This is my first time doing one of these lives with you, so I hope I didn't mess up.
And there's a little delay, so you'll see it showing up in a little bit.
Yes.
So what are we looking at here?
So I just responded back to her, so hopefully I'll have a response soon asking where she is. But she said, I mean, look at those trees. Look at that palm
That
tree.
palm tree, yeah.
I mean, just bent in a total 90-degree angle. And it looks like this is some damage here at her home. I see at least a fence that, I don't think that fence was right up against that window. It looks like that was probably blown in from the side yard there. Just encouraging folks, again, you guys are really our eyes and ears on the road. I know we have a crew out on Truxell Road right now looking at some damage there, but this is so widespread. So this is just a perfect example of if there's something you can send us, wow.
Do it from inside.
Look at those. Yes, inside safely. No, and thank
inside.
Thank you, Dirk, for reiterating that. We don't want anyone driving around, doing anything. Again, emergency crews. When I was at the desk just now, we heard some emergency crews saying there were so many trees falling at an apartment complex. They had to move their engines out of there.
Yeah, so that's a little bit better, I think, shot
Wow.
of what you can see as far as the damage of the fence going down.
Wow.
And then there's the video of the palm trees.
I'm waiting for her to let us know where she is. But she just responded to our tweet chain with SMUD and KCRA. The sad thing is that this is just one of many. It looks like the damage to that fence, I mean, it was totally taken out of the ground.
Yeah, well, I've got one of those fences that are just waiting to fall over too.
Oh,
You
don't
know,
say that.
It seems like every storm.
I'm scared to think about what you'll see when you go home.
You fix one side of your fence and then the other side of the fence, and it's just kind of, yeah. So I've got one more left that I need to fix, and so we'll see if it makes it through the storm.
Well, this is really the first video that we've gotten from someone in tonight that's just giving us.
So what was the
those
neighborhood?
wins.
Where was this?
I'm still waiting to hear back from them. They just said my neighborhood. So I'm still waiting. I sent a tweet back saying, well, where are you?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we get that soon. Here, let's see. I'm going to pull back our little feed and see what else. But again, if you guys can comment on any of our posts and just kind of show us what's going on near you, that way we can put it out here and just show you better, what's going on. Let's see. I'm going to pull up our KCRA page. I know we had some folks commenting on this live stream. All right. Oh, someone just sent a photo of a fence that fell over. You can tell on the phone, but I think it'd be hard to tell there.
Yeah,
but you can see
pretty
kind
dark.
of some.
It's dark
pieces
outside,
of
and
wood.
there's not a lot of lights on. Oh,
Right.
there you go. You
Oh,
have
there's a
some
good one.
lights.
So this is in the comment section on our KCRA page
Oh.
where people are kind of sticking it. So yeah, if folks can tweet at us, that way we can blast it out. I know so many of you are on here watching on social, so just kind of combing through the comments here. Orangevale, Rancho Cordova, Green Haven, the Anatolia Homes, Olivehurst, College Green, Citrus Heights, Arden Arcade, Antelope, North Sac, Tahoe Park, El Dorado Hills, Lodi, Rockland, Natomas, Southland Park, Somerset. Just really echoing. I mean, looking through all of these, Yuba City, Elk Grove, Harold. There really isn't anyone in our region right now who is who has probably not felt the impacts of this. I'm going to go back to our live comments. Again, we're really here to serve everyone here, so any specific questions you have about an area forecast, all of that, I'm back on the cameras now, or back on the comment section, excuse me. Yeah, power out on the borderline of Citrus Heights, Roseville. Michelle just commented she's going to go outside and do some recording of the wind and check the river level. I would advise against that, Michelle. Stay away from rivers and creeks and streams just as they're picking up. I know we talked about that tonight, especially those smaller ones, Dirk, that aren't as regulated. Those are really the ones that you had some concern about during our newscasts.
Yeah, well, with the winds also blowing right now as strong as they are, especially if there's any trees around, you just want to avoid that. I think the creeks and streams are doing pretty good right now because there hasn't been a lot of rain. But I've just being outside, going from my car, from the building to the car,
Right.
you got to have a heads up because there's lots of branches and things flying around out there, and that would be my big concern at this point. Is just if you're around anything where there's trees or debris that can be flying around, you don't want to be there. So just stay indoors. Just stay indoors. That's the best thing to do.
Ooh, folks are asking about the Sonora area. There's a few folks asking about Sonora.
Yeah,
What's happening?
we were over there, and we are picking things up a little bit if you go up the road. This was the Mount Elizabeth area. It showed that at 64-mile-an-hour wind gust. That was its peak wind gust, and that's a recent wind gust that they had there. But that's, again, up in elevation. That's over almost 5,000 feet in elevation. So the Sonora area, you can see the wind gusts near Columbia of 43. We have wind gusts of between 30 and 40 other areas around Sonora. And so that's all that's showing up right now, those peak wind gusts that we've seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
This tool is so helpful. And again, a reminder that this is something that anyone can access. I know folks are saying that this is really cool, and we have folks kind of coming in and out. This is all through the National Weather Service. So anyone can access this, which is pretty awesome.
And it's something I use almost every day. It's a tool. It's a very helpful tool.
Wow, a woman named Lisa just commented, giant tree just missed our house. We are so lucky to have a 40-year-old pine tree in our bedroom right now.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And where was that? Same?
She didn't specify where.
It'd be interesting to just have a map with all of the damage reports to show, just to see, the areas where we saw the greatest damage associated with the strongest winds, and those communities that have been impacted by this the most.
Oh, she was in Roseville, the woman with that tree. We have a few people now. It looks like we're getting another spike of folks tuning in. A bunch of requests for you to go back to the Modesto area.
Modesto, we can
if
do
you
that.
Can look at that.
Let's take a tour down to Modesto. All right, Modesto. There you go. So you got the winds. We zoom in, and out at the airport, 28-mile-an-hour wind gust currently. But if I click on it, you can see they've had a peak wind gust of 41 miles per hour. So these are the current wind gusts. Get out to Salida, you had a 34-mile-an-hour wind gust, ripping 27. Around Modesto, though, at the airport, 28-mile-an-hour wind gust right now. And again, if you look at when that wind gust occurred, you can see it actually happened, it was after midnight, 12:10. And that seems to be kind of the theme, is that we've seen some of the strongest wind gusts basically between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the morning. And then they've kind of tapered off a bit. So we've seen this one of the stronger gusts. We had a 38-mile-an-hour wind gust at 125. So that's the Modesto area.
Really interesting. Hey, Danielle, we just got a comment from a viewer saying Wood Lake near Costco on Exposition. On Expo, and I think that may be close for our crew on the ground to get to if they can get there safely. Ooh, getting some more requests for Yuba City. Those are starting to pick up as well.
Okay, let's go see how they are developing at Yuba City up here. And let's go back. There we go. So again, the best place to look is going to be the Yuba County Airport, right here. And they've had gusts up to 58 miles per hour, currently seeing wind gusts of 43 miles per hour. If you go to the 3-day, here you can scroll and see that the 58-mile-an-hour wind gust occurred at 12:53, so between 12 and 1 o'clock, and then we've been seeing the winds kind of taper off from there. And again, the latest gust they had was at 120, a 43-mile-an-hour wind gust. And so that's a little suspicious that the gusts have not been registering here from 120 to the present. But it looks again generally that the winds have peaked at close to 1 o'clock, and then
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still strong. The winds aren't, they're not going away, but it's just decreasing a bit.
Ooh, you know, just found a pretty incredible video on Twitter of some, let me see if I can search this here. Just showing, you know, some more eyes on the ground. Let's see, what is this user's name? Let's see how we can search this. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Dealing with a few different screens here. I forgot an E. That would help us. Okay. Oh, here we go. Well, perfect. We just found that video I was hoping to show you guys. So this is going around on Twitter. Wow. So this is somewhere in Sacramento. It looks like it could be a midtown or a downtown area. Wow.
That's a big tree. And again, coming up on it, I mean, those things, it's just, you're driving along and all of a sudden, boom, there's a tree in front of you. And it looks like it went right over that car.
Wow. I'm trying, it might be East Sacramento based on the light poles.
It looks like it's a truck. And luckily it went over the bed of the truck. And that there's nobody, and this looks like maybe it's just parked there. That would be terrifying. It's amazing how heavy trees are and the damage that they can do. I remember just being in awe of seeing that one picture that you sent me last week of that house that was basically
Oh
cut
my
in half.
gosh, yes, in the pocket, in the pocket. Yeah, I think it was like a duplex, something like that, and it was a few family unit, and just, I mean, literally it looked like it was cut down the
Yeah,
center.
like a cheese cutter.
A clean cut. It was really bizarre. That was something I hadn't seen before.
All right,
I'm
see
gonna
any
keep
other?
looking. Yeah, let's see. I'm looking around. Again, just a reminder, if anyone wants to tweet some of these at us, it is just so helpful to show kind of what's going on here. Kind of scrolling through and looking. Just kind of looking through. I might just search Sacramento here and see if there's anything I can pull up. Ooh, can we check out Rockland? We've gotten a few folks asking for the Rockland, Roseville, Granite Bay area.
All right, here's Rockland, Roseville, Granite Bay. So right now we've got wind gusts between 20 and 40 miles per hour. This one's one of the stronger ones at Leak Lane. This is a PG&E site. It's at a peak wind gust of 53 miles per hour, and we can look and see when that peak gust hit. 53, we had a 53 mile an hour wind gust at 12:40. And so, again, it looks like those wind gusts are strong, but they are decreasing in intensity. So we're seeing that Granite Bay area. That's probably the best indicator there. Then you got Citrus Heights over here, Folsom over here, Penryn, Lincoln. The Lincoln Regional Airport has had some of the bigger gusts. We had a 60 mile an hour wind gust there. All right.
So a few folks are asking, and I think it's just because people are kind of coming in and out, probably because power is going in and out and devices are coming in and out, wondering when the wind is supposed to settle. Is the worst behind us?
Well, we've reached, it looks like, our peak with the winds, but it's still strong. You know, instead of having 60 mile an hour winds, we have now 50 mile an hour winds. So they're still strong, and we are going to see winds over the next several hours continue to decrease, but not completely go away, I don't think, until we get into like between, more like 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning is when the wind speeds should get down to below maybe the 20 mile an hour range. And that would be the sustained winds. Gusts could still be a little bit stronger than that. But again, right now, just looking at all these strong winds here, not only in the Sacramento area, but stretching down past Stockton and Modesto. We're seeing this into the foothills. Some pretty strong winds. in Amador County, into El Dorado County, Placer County. And while the winds are strong in the mountains, look at this, we're seeing, near Donner. This is Tahoe Donner, wind gusts of 62 miles per hour, but that's at elevation as well of 7,399 feet, so almost 7,400 feet. And let's go farther north. Here we are in Plumas County. We have wind gusts, not too bad actually, 27, 26, 32. Then we get into Butte County, and we have wind gusts in the 20s and 30s. So as far as, and this kind of plays out with the outage map, it looks like this region from Yuba City down to Modesto is where we're seeing the heaviest winds and the most of the power outages right now.
Speaking of outages, can we go back to the SMUD? It's been a bit since we've refreshed. In the comments, some people are saying that they have power again.
Oh, good.
It's definitely the minority. It's not everyone.
All right,
but,
so here we got 350 or 45.
Oh, so it ticked back up about another 1,000. I think our peak tonight, that was at 346. What was that, the highest we had gotten?
That sounds about right.
Wow. Wow.
All right, so
kind of incredible, and it just keeps going. Maybe we could zoom around the PG&E map as well, too.
What I like, what's really encouraging to me is I'm looking here, and I know there's still some gusts. It looks like Elk Grove's got a 42, but look at the Executive Airport. It's dropped down now to 29. And so we had a maximum wind gust of 63 miles per hour, and now it's dropped down to 29. So I like the direction that's going, and even look at that, 22, 24, 29. So we're really seeing a decrease in the winds, at least there in the area around the Executive Airport, which includes the Pocket area, South Sacramento, is where we're seeing that. So what did you want me to do? Go back to?
In the meantime, just while we're talking about this, a woman named Ann just commented from her friend that drives a big rig. They just got to the yard in Woodland, past two blown over big rigs, one at the airport and the other in Woodland at the 102 exit.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, getting on the freeway and going at a speed.
Let me go pass that on to them just in case. I know we have a crew that's kind of roaming.
All right, so here's up by the airport, and you can see that at the Sacramento International Airport, wind gust currently at 37 miles per hour. They had a peak wind gust of 63 miles per hour, so that's dropped off considerably. That's a good sign. And that peak wind gust, I think we already pointed this out once before, 63 was at 12:15. And you can see those winds drop down to 60, 63. Oh, and also at 12:30 we had a 63 mile an hour wind gust. But then after that, 58, 51, 54. Oh, we had a 51 just as early as 1:35. And now down to 37. So you're seeing it kind of come in waves, it looks like, with these gusts. And but at least, even though it's going up and down, generally the whole trend is going down, which is a good sign. That's what I want. I want those winds to taper off and go away. But let's take a quick look at the radar. What's going on here? Looks like the lightning activity is pretty much over with, except for our northern coast of California. And snow looking pretty good in Plumas County. We're seeing a little bit of snow also picking up in through Sierra County, Nevada counties, Placer counties. And okay. So we've got, again, the rain that's out there. Okay. So we have the rain and the snow and the wind all kind of going on, but I think the big hit has been more of this, just kind of seeing what the wind speeds are in the different areas. Everyone, I mean, I know I was curious. You go,
Right.
You're at home and you hear everything just whipping around outside. You're like, man, I wonder what the wind speed is.
Oh, so you know what? We actually just got the person who tweeted at us that incredible video of the palm tree. She said that she is in North Natomas.
Okay.
And she said she really doesn't feel safe. It's just really scary for her out there. And I think, again, just one of many.
Oh, and yeah, and again, a good indicator of what kind of winds you're going to be dealing with, as you can see in the north, the Natomas area is going to be the airport, and that's where we've had some really strong winds. So you can see right now between the International Airport and McClellan, we're looking at wind gusts that are ranging in the 40-mile-an-hour range. Wow. And so we have those winds there.
And just for some perspective, I know we're gonna start wrapping up in a bit here, but I know when we were looking at live shots from reporters along the Sacramento River at the Tower Bridge, the water levels were high, and we expected that. And you said that's exactly what's supposed to happen. With wind gusts like this, I mean, how common is it for us to see this, especially 2 weekends in a row? And the impacts of this one are way worse than last weekend. I mean, it's kind of like deja vu, except we're here at 2 a.m. and, people are still dealing with this, and the numbers just keep growing.
Yeah, we can have some strong wind events, but usually not back to back like this. Every one weekend and the next weekend, and we have another one that's coming in. Usually they're a little bit more spaced, but we can have winds, and I think the strongest wind that's ever been reported in Sacramento, it's close. It's around 70 miles an hour, and so it's close to hurricane force winds. That's the strongest gust that's ever been reported in Sacramento. But so we're not at that level, but still these are exceptionally strong winds, and we're seeing the results of that in the area with all the power outages, the trees down, and the damage that's being done.
It is just interesting, and I know tonight we talked a lot about this, is that people are still recovering from the last round from New Year's. It's still doing cleanup. A lot of folks haven't had power all week. So this is just adding a lot. I mean, as soon as folks got the lights back on, it's lights out. Maybe even hot water out. I know where I live, I didn't have hot water for almost 3 days after the New Year's outages. Just what a way to start 2023. You think you get a new year and you get all of this. I mean, it's kind of unprecedented, but really just the reminder for us is stay home. And I know we sound like we're on you for it, but really there's no point to go out and film, to get the likes on whatever social media. It is so much better if you were safe inside. Just because I can't promise you what the roads look like. I know just hearing from our crew who's out there right now, they said that they can still feel it. And I believe they're in the South Sac area, and they're still getting some really powerful gusts there. And even in the South Sac area, they're not able to connect to internet. But they have some cell service, so it's just this thing is hanging around with us tonight.
Yeah, and like you said, I hope this is not an indicator of what's to come this year.
Oh,
I hope not.
Well, hopefully, you start the year on a tough note, and it can only go up.
Okay, I like your attitude. You're always very positive.
But I do mean it. I mean, I guess the high spot of all of this is we are getting water. It's helpful. I mean, there's all the other good perks, but the wind, there's really nothing good about it.
Yeah, but right now I just wanted to point out here we have in the Yuba County Airport near Marysville and then Beale Air Force Base that are still reporting wind gusts of 55 to 53 miles per hour. So still some strong winds are out there. As you mentioned, you're still going to be running into some strong winds. They're not going away, but they are going to gradually taper off, and that's kind of where we're at right now. We are seeing, I think, the peak wind gusts that we've seen so far from this storm have already hit, and now they're still strong, but I think we're going to see that gradual decrease in intensity.
Wow. Just looking, I mean, even in the Bay Area, it's interesting because the Bay isn't receiving nearly as high wind gusts as we've gotten, but they're feeling a brunt of power outages. Definitely not the same outages that we're feeling. I mean, ours are, I think when you include, I think by the end of the night we could see upwards of 400,000 SMUD customers alone dealing with outages. In fact, before we wrap up, should we, or no, if you want to do something on Doppler, if we want to do that statewide, the cumulative, just one more time into our region, just looking in, that tells the story.
So starting in...
You can't really find a pocket that is...
if this is correct, then Stanislaus County is looking pretty good.
Wow.
There's not much showing up in Stanislaus County, but once you get into San Joaquin County, numbers go up quite a bit. In fact, that's number 2 on the list, and then Sacramento County is number 1. Yeah, that's interesting.
Wow.
And then you get into Butte County and that, but this is where we're seeing it. So Sacramento County, and that looks like the Bay Area still has a lot of outages as well.
Wow. I really didn't think that we would be going through this again this weekend. I mean, I feel for
Are you sure
everyone.
we're not? You sure that's not New Year's?
It's Groundhog Day, right?
Yeah, we're going
But,
through it all
I mean,
over
just the
again.
amount of just listening to scanners, even when I popped over to go speak with our crew who's been monitoring all that, just the amount of trees onto homes, trees onto cars, fallen power lines. It is just a mess out there. And then just a huge shout out to all the emergency responders who are also balancing all of this with their normal emergency calls and medical emergencies that they're trying to get to as well. And we know a lot of our linemen and power crews are hustling as well. So it looks like we're kind of still hovering at that.
Yeah, it looks like I think that's kind of
345,000.
where we're going to be, because again, I don't. It'll be interesting to see, but I don't think we're going to see too much more in the way of this increasing, because I think the trees that are going to be going down have already gone down.
Right.
The wind gusts hopefully are decreasing now, and that way we can get home safe.
Right. Last week, SMUD brought in crews from outside of Sacramento, and I have a feeling they'll need to do that again today. At this point, I would say, though, if your power is out, it's probably going to be out for a bit.
A while.
I don't
It's
see
gonna
it
be a
popping
while.
up at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what we both get home to as well, and how long that will take. Just a reminder, you want to drive safe. But we are here for you guys. This is, really news is a public service, especially in cases like this. So just grateful that we were able to use the Facebook. And Dirk, thank you for breaking it all down with all of your radars and all of the maps. I really hope this was helpful.
Yeah, and
for
our coverage
folks.
doesn't end here.
Right.
Guess what? It starts up all over again
In the morning.
in the morning.
We'll have live team coverage on the outages and the weather. Again, we have a whole new storm that's coming in on Sunday, so make sure you tune in on KCRA. Well, I guess it is the morning, but
And-
in a few hours, I guess I'll say.
And if your TV's not working, you can go to kcra.com. You can get our newscasts online if you're able to do that, or if you go through your phones, you can do that as well. So
on the
you get,
KCRA app. There's so many ways to watch us if you don't have the traditional TV.
there's no excuse.
Yeah, we're here, and we're here for you guys. So really, everyone, stay home, be safe, and we're here for you guys. So anything that you see, hear of, please shoot us an email, shout us out on Twitter or Facebook. You are our helpful eyes. So everyone, be safe. And Dirk, just thank you again for your expertise and just guiding us through all of this. It's a pretty crazy time.
Well, thank you, Brittany.
Oh. All right, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Everyone go to bed.